We're just going to wait a moment and wait for a few more people to join, so that we've just started, and then we'll start
Sure,
the talk.
sure.
All right, I think we're now at the starting time. So I'd like to welcome Gajendra, who's going to speak to us about building your first cyber forensic application using Python. I see our slides cut that off a bit, but we're very happy to have him here. And please take it away.
Yeah. Thank you, Neil. Hello, everyone. Today I will be presenting a talk on build your first cyber forensic application using Python. Uh, okay, so luckily I got power back. Yeah, fine. So I was facing power issues at my end. Yeah, so now it is resolved. Okay. Yeah, so let me start the talk. So in today's talk, I'll be discussing about introduction to digital crimes, digital forensics, the process of investigation, and the collection of evidence, setting up Python for forensics application development, then built-in functions and modules for forensic tasks, forensic indexing and searching, hash functions for forensics, forensic evidence extraction, then metadata forensics, and finally using natural language tools for forensics. And finally, I'll be summarizing my talk. So let us first look at a few cybercrime statistics. The Internet Crime Report for 2019, released by USA's Internet Crime Complaint Center of Federal Bureau of Investigation, has revealed top 4 countries. So, of course, you can see some numbers here, but these are only the reported numbers. Unreported numbers can be much higher. So, according to RSA report, mobile transactions are rapidly growing, and cyber criminals are migrating to less protected soft channels. That is because many people are not aware of different settings available in the mobile devices. Then, according to an article published in Indian Express, over 55% of millennials in India are hit by the cybercrime. So, millennials are those people who are born between 1995 and 2010. They are gadget friendly, so they are going to use, or they use gadgets heavily. So, obviously, they are the targets. Then a recent study by Checkpoint Research has recorded over more than 150,000 cyber attacks every week during the COVID-19 pandemic. There has been an increase of 30% in cyber attacks compared to previous weeks. Now let us define forensics first. So forensic science is the use of scientific methods or expertise to investigate crimes or examine evidence that might be presented in a court of law. So cyber forensics is investigation of various crimes happening in the cyberspace. So basically, cyber criminals use different digital tools. So for the investigation, we are also going to use uh, digital tools. Then examples of cyber attacks include phishing, ransomware, fake news, fake medicine, extortion, and also the insider frauds. So we know that during pandemic, a lot of messages were circulated, and most of them were fake. They may be fake news and also related information related to the fake medicine. And insider frauds are also very important. We know that there may be many unhappy employees, and they may turn into cyber criminals. Then according to DFRWS, that is Digital Forensics Research Workshop, it can be defined as the use of scientifically derived and proven method toward the preservation, collection, validation, identification, analysis, interpretation, documentation, and presentation of digital evidence derived from digital sources for the purpose of facilitating or furthering the reconstruction of events found to be criminal, or helping to anticipate unauthorized actions shown to be disruptive to the planned operations. So now here, if you look at the definition, there are two parts. One uh, speaks about the different steps which the investigation officer need to carry out during the investigation process, and second one, it focuses on the importance of presenting the evidence in the court of law. Now there are basically 6 steps in digital forensics investigation. First one is the identification, then collection, then validation, examination, preservation, and presentation. So we will look at each of these steps one by one. So in identification, what happens is the investigation officer visits the crime location, and the officer is going to identify the different objects. So these objects may consist of evidence. So these objects may include laptop, um, mobile phone, smart gadgets, smart watches, and even the cables. And there may be toy pen drives, so which look like toys, but uh, so but they are pen drives. So such objects may be missed out. So the investigation officer needs to identify such objects. Then once the objects are identified, the investigation officer needs to collect them and put it in a anti-static bags or Faraday bags in order to preserve the evidence. The next is the validation. Note here that you are not going to perform uh, investigation on the original data. So when we are identifying the information, when we are identifying the evidence, we also need to identify the clues or information or evidence in software. So we need to collect the data. So what they usually do is they take the snapshot of the entire disk. So they will not perform validation or any examination on the original data. So they will perform it on copy of the data. So they will compare the original data and the copy of the data so as to ensure that nothing has changed. So this can be achieved by using hash algorithms. The next is the examination. So it is the examination step where the evidence is identified. Then once the evidence is identified, then you need to preserve it. So you need to preserve the hard disk at the appropriate temperature in a locked room with appropriate security measures. Then finally the presentation. So presentation is nothing but the producing the collected evidence in the court of law. Then there is something called as Daubert standard. So in United States federal law, the Daubert standard is a rule of evidence regarding the admissibility of expert witness testimony. So a party may raise a Daubert motion, a special motion in limine raised before or during trial to exclude the presentation of unqualified evidence to the jury. So there are some illustrative factors. So the court defined the scientific methodology as the process of formulating hypothesis, then conducting experiments to prove or falsify the hypothesis. So these illustrative factors include: has the technique been tested in actual field conditions and not just in the laboratory? Has the technique been subject to peer review and publication? What is the known or potential rate of error? Do standards exist for control of the technique's operation? Has the technique been generally accepted within the relevant scientific community? Now, Daubert standard and Python are closely related because there's a study carried out by Brian Carrier. So he published a paper that examined the rules of evidence standards, so that is including Daubert, and compared and contrasted the open source and closed source forensic tools. So one of his key conclusions was, using the guidelines of the Daubert's test, we have shown that the open source tools may more clearly and comprehensively meet the guideline requirements than would closed source tools. So the results are not automatic, of course, so just because the source is open. So rather than specific steps must be followed regarding the design, development, and validation. Now, what is the meaning here is the open source tools satisfy Daubert standard than closed source tools. So since Python is open source, so it obviously satisfies the Daubert standard. So some questions which needs to be asked whenever we are using Python and to check whether it conforms to Daubert standard are, can the program or algorithm be explained? This explanation should be explained in words, not only in the in terms of code, because judge will not understand the code. Has the enough information been provided such that thorough tests can be developed to test the program? Have error rates been calculated and validated independently? Has the program been studied and peer reviewed? So has the program been generally accepted by the community? So you can refer the book mentioned here, that is Python Forensics by uh, Chet Hosmer, for more information. The next important uh, topic is the setting up Python for forensic application development. So there are many factors. One is your background and your organization support. So are you good in Python, whether your organization supports open source work. The next is choosing third party libraries. So there are many third party libraries you will find and which will help you to achieve your task. But the problem is some may be compatible with your present version of Python and some may not be compatible. So in that case you need to install multiple versions of Python. Maybe you need to have separate containerized installations to carry out the task. Then using IDEs and their features. So always using IDEs will help you to write the code faster. Then installation. So here you have again multiple options. You can install your favorite operating system, maybe Windows or Linux or Macintosh, or you may go for virtual machine, or you may also go for cloud. Then right version of Python. So as I have said that right version of Python is very very important, because um, you may go for third party libraries, and to execute the code you may have to you may need the right version of Python. The next one is graphical versus shell. So many times many people prefer graphical if they are beginners, and geeks may prefer shell because they will achieve more, and more customization options are available with shell. Now built-in functions and modules. Now when we are considering Python as a forensic tool or forensic application development tool, uh, you can see here that there are many built-in functions. We need not have to write our own built-in functions. So many times just using built-in functions we can achieve our goal. So say for example in this application you can see here we have used the inbuilt functions such as range and append, which are inbuilt functions. We are just generating the set of IP addresses here. So we are generating the local IP addresses, so which begins from 127.0.0.0 to 127.0.0.10. So similarly here, to list the files and directories in a particular directory, I am importing the OS module. Then we are using getCwd function, that is get the current working directory. Then list dir function we are using, where we are passing the path of a present working directory as a parameter to list directory function. So it just prints the uh, folders and files in the present directory. The next is forensic indexing and searching. So you can use simple file search and index function. So what happens in file search is you will be having a text and you need to find out the frequency of each words. Maybe you may have to index the uh, words. So that can be achieved by using simple file search and index functions. Okay, so you can see here on the left hand side there is a code where there's a variable called as search words, which is nothing but a set, and some keywords are stored in text file. Then for each line in file words, we are checking whether the word is present. So if Python word is present in search words, then we are saying that word is found. Otherwise, we are saying that not found. It's a very simple application, but it can be used to find out some key insights. Say, for example, if we are looking for some evidence, so we can just check whether those words are present in particular location, in particular file. And if you want some advanced features, then you can go for Whoosh. So basically using Whoosh, you are building your own Google like search engine. So it was created and is maintained by Matt, and it is originally created for the use in the online help system of side effects. Then it's a Pythonic API. Then it is pure Python library again. So fielded indexing and search features are supported. Then fast indexing and retrieval is possible. Then it supports also powerful query language. So how it works is, first you're going to import the required modules such as create, in, and fields. Then next you're going to add the paths of different files. So you can see here there's a function called as add document, and add document takes the parameters as title and the content. Then you add once the URLs are added, then you're going to use the query parser module, right? So where you are going to search for some keywords. Okay, so if those keywords are present, then you are going to say that yes, the particular keyword is present at the particular location. Then next is hash function for forensics. So as I have said that you can use hash functions for validation of the data. So first you can import the hashlib library. Then you can okay, so then what we are doing here is we are creating a message yum, and we are using SHA-256 algorithm. Then in this case we are defining a sentence, say Python is, and it's a great programming language. So we have split the sentence into two-part message. Then we are computing the digest on this message. Then similarly we are using another message called as X. So again we are computing the digest on the same sentence. So content is same, but this time we have a single part sentence. So when we compare X dot digest is equal to M dot digest, so if it is true, then that means the data is same. So in the next example, what I have done is I have added one additional space. Okay, so because of that, the digests are different, and it is giving the false message. The next is forensic evidence extraction. So for that we are going to use some functions such as pillow. So which is nothing but a image processing library. So it's a Python imaging library. It adds image processing capabilities to the Python interpreter. So this library provides extensive file format support and efficient internal representation and fairly powerful image processing capabilities. So for example, you can use EXIF tags, and you can extract the information about the image. Say for example, if you want to extract the file properties, then you can just say tags.items and print the EXIF tags. So it will print the different file properties associated with an image. Then if you want GPS tags, that is location information, latitude and longitude information, then you can go for GPS tags. Then if you want both, then you can import both the modules, that is tags and GPS tags. So it will extract both file properties as well as location information. Next is the pyscreenshot. So it tries to allow to take screenshots without installing third-party libraries. It's a cross-platform, but mainly used for Linux-based distributions. Okay, it supports even Python 2.7 and Python 3 versions also. Now the important point to note here is that performance is not the target for this library. but you can benchmark the possible settings and choose the fastest one. Okay, so here the goal is to extract the evidence without tampering. So that is very, very important. Now this is a code. So what it does is it takes the screenshot of the entire screen. So here first you need to import pyscreenshot module, then use grab method, then use the save method to save the screenshot. Now you can also specify the um, x1 y1 and x2 y2, that is the part of the screen. You can specify the location on the screen, that is from top left corner to the bottom right corner, and it can take the screenshot only of the specified area. Now those who are interested in performance, they can check the performance. So here n equal to 10 means it's the performance for taking 10 screenshots. So you can see here different timings, and you can choose the lesser one. So in order to improve the performance, you can set child process parameter to 0. You can also make some additional settings, such as backend equal to scrot, and similarly backend is equal to mss, and set child process equal to false. So this will improve the performance of your application, but generally it is not required in case of forensics because the focus is on evidence extraction. The next is the metadata forensics. So in this case, we are going to um, extract the information of different types of files. So we are going to extract information about audio file, video file, PDF files, etc., and also the portable executable file. So here mutagen is a Python module which can be used to handle audio metadata. So we know that there are different formats for audio files: MP3, MP4, OGG, verbase, etc., etc. So if you want to extract the information related to the audio file, then you can use mutagen library. Okay. So here you can see here that we are importing the mutagen library, and we are extracting the information of a OGG file. So here it says that the format is OGG verbase, then the duration and the bits per second. Then similarly, you can extract the information for FLAC file. You can extract the information for MP3 file. So you need to import the appropriate module here and pass the appropriate file, and you will be able to get the information about those files. Then similarly, if you want information about PDF files, then you can go for PyPDF2 module again, which is a pure Python library which is built as a PDF toolkit, and it is capable of extracting document information such as title, author, size, when it was created, when it was modified, etc., etc. Then splitting documents page by page, then merging documents page by page, then cropping pages, then merging multiple pages into single page, then encrypting and decrypting PDF files. So it's a useful tool for websites that manage or manipulate PDFs. The next is PE file. So PE file stands for Portable Executable File, and it's a multi-platform Python module to parse and work with portable executable files. So most of the information contained in the PE file headers is accessible, as well as the sections, details, and the data. So the structures defined in the Windows header files will be accessible as attributes in the PE instance. So you can only perform Windows related forensics here, Windows OS related forensics here. Okay. So PE file requires some basic understanding of the layout of the PE file. With it, it is possible to explore nearly every single feature of the PE file format. So using metadata forensics, some of the tasks that makes PE file makes possible are the inspecting the headers, analyzing of the sections of the data, retrieving embedded data, then reading strings from resources, warning for suspicious and malformed values, then overwriting fields, then packer detection, then PID signature generation, and so on. The next is the using natural language tools. So here in this case, now this is the modern technology where you can apply natural language processing tools as well as machine learning and data science tools for examining the evidence or to get more useful information about the evidence, or maybe to establish the relationship between different pieces of evidence. Okay, so here in this case there are different libraries. So if you are considering NLP concepts, then there are libraries such as NLTK, Spacey, and Textasy. So these are most popular NLP tools. So of course they work predominantly on English language, but they also support some of the Western languages. So Textasy is built on top of Spacey, which supports more text processing features. Then next is the Stanza and Polyglot. So these are the most widely used NLP libraries if you want to work with multilingual data. So multilingual data or cross-lingual data. So many times what happens is the information is written using more than one human language. Okay, so basically, for example, um, we know that most of the people know the English language, but their mother tongue or father tongue will be different. Okay, so they write uh, script in their mother tongue or father tongue, but using the English script. So in that case, transliteration and translation needs to be performed in order to identify the correct information. Okay, so in that case, we need to go for machine learning techniques along with NLP concepts. Then there are some libraries such as INLTK or Indic NLP. So these are the Python libraries which work specifically with Indian languages. Okay, but Stanza is a language which supports 60 plus languages, and Polyglot supports more than 150 languages around the world. So in summary, I can say that it is very important to follow the standard procedure led by law enforcement agencies during investigation process. That is because if you don't follow the standard procedure, then court will not accept the evidence. Then there are many open source as well as commercial tools for digital forensics. So learning to develop your own tool is always advantageous. One, you need not have to depend on the commercial tools. Second one, it will improve your skills of developing your own tools. So it's always advantageous. Then many tools written in Python are pure Python implementations, so you need not have to go for additional libraries. And most importantly, Python and open source tools comply with Daubert standard, which is very important. So thank you everyone for attending my talk. If there are any questions, I can take up. Okay, question one. Okay, just okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, Neil, you are mute. I'm not able to.
Sorry. Yeah, it's late in the day. So, but my question was, what would be a good place to start or a good project to start for learning more about this field?
Okay. Okay, so basically, the problem with cyber forensics is that it's one of the neglected areas. So you will not find much resources. But of course, there are many books. One book I have already mentioned in my talk. So if you want to specifically start with uh, Python forensics, then if you are interested in digital forensics, then Tutorials Point website has got some tutorials which you can read free of cost, and also work free of cost. Then if you are interested in professional certificates, then EC Council has got certificates such as the CHFI, that is Certified Hacking Forensic Investigator. Then even SANS has. So many certification agencies are providing professional certifications in this area.
We have one more question. Yeah, you spoke of a demo, but so that just get dropped for time, or was...
And also I just included the screenshots because
Right.
I was facing problem at my end. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but you can refer those screenshots, and if you can easily reproduce them. That's not a problem.
All right. Just give it a couple of minutes to see if there are any other questions.
Sure.
See if there's typing going on in Discord. See if that's
Okay.
no,
Not
that's
a
just
problem.
a general thank you. All right. In which case, thank you very much again for your talk. It was very informative. And just a couple of housekeeping notes. That a reminder that lightning talk submissions are still open. So if you wish to give a lightning talk, please let us know. And that the next talk will be next set of talks will be starting in sort of a little over 10 minutes, and see people in those. And thank you very much for attending, and thank you again to our speaker. All right, and I'll end the recording here.
For the opportunity. Yeah. Thank you, Neil. And also I thank the organizers of PyConZA for giving me an opportunity to speak. Thank you.